to Table Talk with Toddy, a podcast for millennials designed to motivate, inspire, and educate you on what it really takes to live a real life on purpose. This isn't your typical podcast. You can count on me to keep it real, funky, and relatable here on Table Talk with Toddy.
Hey guys, it's Natasha Toddy Weston, and this is episode 17 of the Table Talk with Toddy podcast. I have a good friend, and I know I say that about everybody that comes on here, but literally this is like my little sister from another mister. Like, she's legit. Like, I've adopted her, kidnapped her, and everything else. I have with me today Jasmine Easter, and she is the beautiful face behind JasmineEaster.com. Jasmine helps female entrepreneurs build brilliant and beautiful brands through graphic and web design. And after designing for over 7 years, she realized that more entrepreneurs were focused on pretty over purpose. And that's when she decided to get strategic about design. So welcome to the podcast, Jasmine. So thankful that you finally agreed to join me.
Thank you. It has been a long time, but I'm excited.
Yes, I'm excited too for a lot of reasons. You know, Jasmine, y'all, is like me back in the day. Like, very introverted, but so passionate about what she does. She's so creative, so ambitious. I mean, she's like everything I was maybe like 10 years ago, like right out of high school. Like, she's literally, like, I've never met anybody that is so similar to me until it's ridiculous. So Jasmine is family, y'all. So this conversation might get real, but y'all just buckle up because she's got a lot to offer, and she's so smart. Like I said, so talented. Y'all go check out her website, JasmineEaster.com. But let me give y'all a little back history on Jasmine and I, for those of you who, don't know our relationship. I think, quote me if I'm wrong, Jasmine, is 2 years ago maybe now? 2 years ago, I put up a post on Instagram. 2 years?
Yep, 2 years.
I put a post up on Instagram that I was looking for some interns, and specifically in the area of graphic design. Why? Because I know y'all are thinking, well, don't you kind of do graphics, Toddy? So why were you looking for graphic design intern? Well, I understand that in business, and if you didn't know this, now y'all about to learn something. In business, it's important to have multiple people that can bring different aspects to your business and bring their genius into your business. And I knew that in order for me to relaunch my business the right way and really reposition myself, I needed somebody that literally studied graphics to come in and really do their thing and shine in their way. And Jasmine reached out to me, and when I got that email, because by this time I had already gotten a ton of emails from people, and the presentation was just all sorts of jacked up. Like, the emails were just not written well. The resumes weren't really that great. The work wasn't that great. But when Jasmine Easter sent her email, y'all, I was like, I didn't even have to really do an interview with her. I was like, you got the job, honey. Because her presentation was so bomb. Her presentation was just so bomb. And like I said, her presentation, like, if you're out there and you're in that stage of life where you're looking for internships or looking to, grow your portfolio or extend your network, presentation is everything, isn't it, Jasmine? Like, I mean,
it's everything.
It's like everything. Like, we do judge books by its covers. Like, I would have probably never even inquired or reached out to her if her presentation, and when I say presentation, I mean down to how she wrote her email to me. It was professional. It was well written. It was easy to understand. She made, it very clear how to contact her, what she had done, what her goals were for the internship. I mean, she did all of the work for me, y'all. Like, she really did. And so of course she got the internship, and it's kind of been history ever since. We've obviously grown from work relationship to personal. She's literally my little sister, and she's just bomb. And so let me tell y'all, she did not want to do this podcast. Like, she she was fighting me. And I was like, no, I got to get that one. And like, Jasmine, you got to do this. And the reason why I was so persistent about getting you on here is because your story, from what you told me, is just, it needs to be heard. And I always tell people, your millions is in your mouth. Like, you could be the shyest person on the planet, but the story that you have is what's going to be that thing that does change every aspect of your life. And I, like I said, I'm going to let you tell your story, but from knowing your story, I know that, people have just got to hear it and hear, kind of how you got into where you are now, JasmineEaster.com, because you used to be Digital Lucy and you went through, that type of transformation. So, yes, y'all, Jasmine used to be my intern, and now I'm interviewing her as a full-time millennial entrepreneur. Isn't that crazy? And, that was, 2 years ago?
2 years ago. That was actually a really awesome introduction, by the way.
Yes. Awesome introduction for an awesome person. So, all right, because like I told you before we got on to do this, normally I'll have questions that I already want to answer, but because I know you, I'm kind of introducing you to the listeners. So I want to kind of take them back to, you've got this new, I guess you would call it tagline. You are a millennial girl with a traditional upbringing. And when I saw that, I was like, yes, Jasmine, that's so perfect. That's just so perfect. So you started off, you were a student, you were in college, taking courses as a new media arts student, and you kind of felt like you reached your peak in school, which a lot of people don't realize. I think you were 20 when you decided to really pursue entrepreneurship all the way.
Yep, 20 years old.
20, right? Yeah. I can remember being a 20-year-old, and I feel old as hell right now. Even saying it like that. I remember when I was 20. And I don't really remember exactly what I was doing at 20, but I'm sure it was nothing too wonderful to be even talking about right now for those of you listening, because you might start judging me. But, at 20, I wasn't clear on anything, let alone making a decision like that to realize that, wow, I've reached my peak here in college, the place where you're supposed to always be, learning new things and growing and excelling. But you felt like you reached, a peak in school. You felt like you had learned pretty much all you could learn in school at that time. So you made that phone call that all parents dread, all of them, whether they're supportive or not, graduating from high school, going to college, getting in the military. Those are normally the only two options that most people have. And so I'm hoping that whoever's listening, that, maybe they're in high school or just graduating and maybe in college and not sure if they're supposed to be there in the first place, I want you to talk to those people. You called your parents or your mom and you said, I'm not doing this ish anymore.
Right.
There's nothing else. There's nothing else for me to learn here. And I'm going to start my own business and I'm going to do this and I'm not going to quit. Tell us how that conversation went.
So, well, for me, honestly, I really never wanted to go to school. It was just a thing, like you said, that you do. You graduate and you go to college. I graduated in the top 10% of my class. So it was expected that I was supposed to go to college. I actually enrolled as a biology major. But I changed it to new media arts. Yeah, I enrolled in biology because my mom didn't think new media arts was practical. So I enrolled in something different, but after looking at the course list and stuff, I was like, yo, there's no way that I could do biology. That's good. So I switched to what it was that I really wanted to do. And I had got introduced to design when I was probably in the 7th grade. So this is something that I've been, dipping and dabbing in for years. And in my design classes, it was just, I don't know, it was just a matter of I'm in the classes, I'm in there with all these different people, people from different walks of life, different experiences. Some of them have experience with design, some not. My teachers are supposed to be skilled designers. And it just wasn't fulfilling to me. I just felt like I just had so much more to offer to other people. I already had like a few side clients, and I already had 2 or 3 internships at that point. I think 3. I think I had 3 by then. But I had teachers that were coming to me and they were telling me like, oh, you have a natural understanding of like color theory already. You already have a natural understanding of layout. Like your understanding of these design elements are better than most people. And I'm like, if my teacher's already telling me that, I pretty much don't need to be here, then why am I here? So I made the call to my mother, who has 2 master's degrees and worked in continuing education all of my life, that I was dropping out of college. And it was terrible. Like, I tried to avoid her at first because I waited during the summer semester, just chilling. And then it's time to go back to school, and she's like, oh, so what's going on? What's this? And I was dodging her.
Like feeling like a complete fraud, right?
Right. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. She's like, what classes? I'm like, oh, I haven't really looked at my schedule, or I don't remember. And I'm just like dodging her every time I talk to her. And so I go home one day and she looks at me and she's like, okay, so what's really going on with school? And I'm like, I'm dropping out. And she went in, like, she had everything, like, that she could possibly say. She was just telling me that it was, like, the worst decision that I could make, and that she wasn't going to support me, and then she wasn't going to help me, and it was just really bad. And me and her we used to talk every single day, but when that happened, I ended up not talking to her for, like, a month. So
wow,
it was
I remember that.
Yeah, it was like I was stressed. And, my mom has lupus and stuff, so I don't like to go like that long without talking to her. But I felt like I had to come back, and show her something, give her proof that, I'm really walking in my path. And before I had made this decision too, like, I knew that I was going to get a lot of flack for it. Like, I knew no one was going to think that it was the right thing to do. But at the end of the day, like, you have to go with your intuition and your gut and how you're feeling about things. I knew that one day, like, your life is for you. It's not for anybody else. So if you're not happy, if you're miserable, you can't sit around doing all the things and live out other people's dreams. Because graduating college and getting a degree was just not my dream. It never was. Right. And so if I was to stay in school, I just would have been super miserable, and I just couldn't do it anymore. And during that time, during the summer, I went back and forth with it. Like, should I just go? This will be my 4th year of college. And I kept having this dream of like a storefront with Digital Lucy on the front. And I had it every single day. And I was like, I will never forgive myself if I don't do this. So I have to at least try it. And I mean, if I fail, I fail. I can always go back to school. So I just took the leap, and I didn't really have a lot of support. But a week after me and my mom had that argument, I actually booked a gig branding a program for Georgia Tech, and I got 2 of my first retainer clients. And I was like, well, God is showing me that I'm walking in the right direction. So you just got to have faith in yourself.
That's true. I mean, you gave a lot of lessons in that one story. A few things that stuck out was you're not going to have the support that you think you should have, but you got to keep going, even if you're not doing it to prove them wrong. I mean, in this case, everybody wants their parents to approve what they do, whatever it is. Whether we admit it or not, our mom's approval is everything. Even at I'm 28, I'll be 29 this year, and my mom's approval is everything. And even if I don't listen to or follow her advice, you still want that approval, like you just do. So, for you to have pushed through at 20 years old and say, look, this is a decision that I'm making, and I'm going to make it, and I'm going to do what I need to do to make sure that this does work out for me. And you did that. And I remember you telling me, another thing, like when you were going to this, you were saying how all of your friends thought you were crazy. Like, because they were still in school. Like, they never seen anybody do it before. So, in that own way, Jasmine, you set a trend because you were the first in your group to do it. And that in itself is what makes leaders, and that's why stories like yours must be told, because there are so many high school students out there, young people in their 20s, that are going through this exact same thing, but they don't have anybody to look at and see a success story come out of. Like for me, a lot of people wait until they make six figures to share the struggles that they've encountered, whereas I choose to share those struggles along the way. Why? Because we connect with people emotionally, and when you're going through something and you can see somebody that looks familiar to you and they've gone through it and survived it, that is really what motivation is, and that's what really creates leaders and game changers out here, is from seeing I'm a success story before I'm a success story, because I made it this far to be able to tell you about it. So, I think the fact that you were able to identify that early on is really amazing. So let's go back to high school really quick, because I've got a question that I really want to ask you. So I was listening to Gary V, actually last night on YouTube, one of his old Ask Gary V YouTube videos. And, how he takes calls from, his fans, and they ask him a question and then he answers right on the spot. Well, one lady called in and she asked, what did Gary think about the education system? Like, what did he think about high schools, and what does he think they need to change in high schools to make them more relevant to what's going on now? So he asked her, he said, well, what is your role in this question? Are you an educator? Are you a parent? Well, she's a teacher, a high school teacher, and she pretty much said that she almost hates her job because the curriculum does not line up to what the kids are learning. They can't have their cell phones, and she feels like they're doing them less justice that way by not letting them be creative and letting them do things outside of what's in the textbook. So, Jasmine, if you could create the perfect high school curriculum for the Creative Millennial, what would that curriculum look like?
Oh, it would be so much, a lot different. I will say, though, however, when I was in high school, we did have like not a technical track, but they had like this kind of like career/trade track that you could be put on. So there were kids who got to like experiment with cosmetology, and I took the IT track, so I got to experiment with like IT and all that stuff too. So I think those kind of programs in school are pretty good. But I think that there should be less. It's important to know basic stuff. Of course, you need to know basic math. You need to know English, because Lord knows some of the emails and blah. You need to know English skills. But I just think it would be more of like in high school, I just think there should be more trial and error, because that's the issue that I see most like college kids go through, is that they just don't know what they like and they're scared to try all these different things. So I think there should be different programs where you could, hey, like maybe this track teaches more about entrepreneurship if you want to go into entrepreneurship. Maybe this track has, more of like the creative things that you like to do. And just like focusing on those things like in 11th and 12th grade, and just getting the basics in like 9th and 10th. It reminds me of a professor that I had, actually, English professor who was from Italy, and she was saying that high school there, the first 2 years they do like, your basic math and English, science and stuff like that. But in the last 2 years, they give you a choice, and you can choose like whether you want to be in like an arts kind of school, or if you want to go to a school to learn a trade. But you get that experience young, so that you're not freaking out about not knowing. Because I feel like that's the biggest thing that people, my age struggle with, is not knowing. They have this big issue with like, I feel like I should be doing this. People feel like, for one, like that they're failing. And I'm like, you're only 24, you're only 25. Like, you have time. And it's okay to fail. Failures happen. But people have this, it's like they're scared to experiment and figure out what it is that they really want to do. And part of that is, the whole, and then get a job, which doesn't even always work. There are plenty of people out here who go to school and get degrees. It's like it's a lot more hustle behind getting that job when you get that degree that they don't teach either. in college. But yeah, I think that's the biggest issue. I just think that kids are just too afraid to experiment and really get to know what they like and what they don't like, and formulate the things they're good at and the things they like, and turn that into a career or a career field. I was lucky enough to know what I wanted to do, like, as soon as I did it. As soon as I learned about design, I was like, oh, this is exactly what I want to do. This is perfect. But I know everyone's not that way.
That's true. That's true. So, I think in high school, because I was there too, like, I remember my senior year, I think we had an entrepreneurship class. We had a visual marketing class. It was almost like that. It was like the beginning era of those types of courses. So I was like on my way out of the door when I was offered those types of courses. And it interests me because I think in one class, I think it was marketing, one of the projects was to pretty much do a real, I don't know what it's called, but like a poster board, and you set up like how your store would be set up. I don't know what you call those. But that was like one of the projects, and I just remember that was like my favorite thing ever. Like, favorite thing ever. No, it was fashion merchandising. That was the class that it was, and I was a senior. And then, of course, we had like, our trade classes like home economics, clothing and textiles, and, those types of courses. But it still wasn't enough. They still offered us those courses, but it was still like you still had one or two options. And I just remember like looking in the fashion schools, like I would love to go to California and go to the Fashion Institute, but because I didn't see anybody around me doing that same thing, I was like, oh, well, that's not possible. Like, I'm not even going to be able to get financial aid to go to school. I kind of, because I didn't see it around me. Like, it really wasn't offered. So I settled and I went for what everybody else was going for. And so I think, now with schools, I think it is crucial because I feel like when you give students, two options and not a third, then you kind of force them up against the wall. And when they fail at one of those two things, then that's when the other problems start to come about, the depression, and because they feel like they're failing. They feel like the blueprint that was laid out for me is not working for me, so I'm failing. So they either turn into depression or alcoholics, they abuse drugs. I mean, that's where really all of the problems stem from. And so, if I had to create some type of curriculum, definitely the basics and definitely getting more people that look like them, like you, Jasmine, they could come in and, talk to them and tell them, like, this is the blueprint that I created for myself and it worked. And, every scenario will be different, but I do think that they should, try to improve that. And, me being a mom now and knowing that, that's why I'm so adamant about creating Tyler's business now. So when he does graduate from high school, he has more than just those two options, which at this point, I won't even let him go in the military. With the way the world is setting up right now, like, I don't even think, like, that's probably not even going to be an option for him when he gets to be 20 years old. So I feel like you want to be able to give them more options. I don't think that they have enough options or enough examples of what it looks like. Okay, so.
Because those things aren't stressed in there at all. They don't even make it, like, the classes that are more interesting, they don't really push that this could be a career. They just push it as like a side course that you're just kind of taking. Nothing more than that.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks. Yeah. Like, it really sucks. Like, they should have all sorts. They should have graphic design. They should have branding classes. They should have marketing. They should have, they should have video marketing. They should have social media classes. I mean, the truth is, social media is where the world is heading. The world is about, like, we're about to be watching TV from our cell phones in the next 10 years. Like, there's not going to be a TV. And so, you can't.
The curriculum is behind.
It's so behind. It's so behind. And it's sad because our children if they don't catch up, the kids are going to get to the point where they don't even want to go to school because they just feel out of the norm. Like, when they leave school, the norm, the environment that they're creating in schools now is not reality to these students. It's just not.
That's
And
true.
so,
And then the way that they have it set up for learning, like, it's just the way they test intelligence in school is just backwards to me. Like, it's based off of memorization, what you can memorize, and that's it. They don't have like a lot of hands-on. I mean, you do see more videos now circulating around the web. You know, you see teachers making songs, making dance, and just making things more interactive and more interesting for kids. Additionally, that's just not how it's going. Here's a book. Remember, take a test. You get an A. It doesn't even. That's the other thing. School doesn't really test or give you a chance to explore any creativity. Even in science or math or any of the traditional ways, it doesn't give you a chance to think creatively or think outside of the box to get to those solutions either. So I think everything needs to be advanced.
I think we need to start our own school, Jasmine. What do you think?
Right. Okay.
I think we totally need our own. Yeah, we need our own schools, and we can turn the guidance counselor offices into internship offers. You know, like the new age is different. You know, like I look back now for all that I've learned and the people I met, and like it should just be totally different, man. Like I feel like we have a lot more creative young people out here doing more productive things if the school system was set up to match their reality. That's just, what I think. So, anyway,
I have a brother in high school, and he's not really feeling it. He's not hearing it, but they're like, he can't pay attention. He's having a hard time learning because he has ADHD and stuff. But he came home and taught himself how to edit video. And I'm like, well, it's just you guys aren't making it interesting enough, and it's not really up to date. It's not relevant. So that definitely makes sense.
Yeah, it's crazy and it's the ones that they say have the ADHD. They're just talented and bored to death. Like, and they're probably geniuses, but like you said, it goes back to how are you evaluating how smart they are? Like, is it really reality? It's not. So, my goal this year is to definitely get in more schools and talk to more students. And something else Gary Vee said that I heard him say last night to his teacher was, you got to be that person who gives that student a weight to say, hey, you might not be excelling in my class, but you were probably like the smartest person in here. I think students just need a little more assurance that, that maybe if they're not doing that great in school, then maybe they should start exploring other opportunities or tapping into their gifts at an early age. So, I think that whole school system is, we're in trouble if they don't match these students' reality. But anyway, I digress from that. So you dropped out of college at 20, called your mom, told her I'm starting my own business. She didn't support you. At what moment did you guys' relationship get back on track? Was it after you signed your first big client? After she saw that you were making money? Like, what happened to where y'all got back on good terms?
Well, I told you, that after that week and I had booked that gig with Georgia Tech and I had those 2 retainer clients and I was like, oh, like to me that was good enough, to go back to tell her for reassurance. Because I'm like, retainer client, Georgia Tech, like these are good clients. And this was within a week, but I was waiting, to make sure that she felt okay, even though I was still going to do what I was going to do regardless. But I still wanted her to feel better about the situation. But I ended up waiting and I was waiting. But I seen her post something about her like not feeling well or maybe driving like because of her meds or something like that. And I was like, okay, well, I definitely have to contact her now, because I'm sick and we don't have tomorrow. So I just wanted to make sure to get past that and let her know that, whether or not she supported me, that I still wanted to be here for her. Because I think that's important too. I think it's important when you have too much negativity coming at you, to keep it at a distance. Because sometimes when you have, your mom, your family, your friends, and all these other people around you just feeling like all this negativity, you get in your own head. You start believing that what they're saying is fact. And that's not something that I wanted at all. But at the same time, to make sure the people who are important to me in my life, you know, they understand this is my decision, and just accepting that this is what it is. And so after that, you know, we got on better terms. And after time, she started to see, okay, like, you know, you're paying your bills, you're doing everything full time. And she just left me alone about it. But every time someone comes over, she's like, you know, because this always happens. Like my brother's uncle came over there actually and was like, oh, you're what about school? And I was like, oh, I dropped out of school like a year ago. And he was like, what? And so what are you doing now? And I was like, oh, I run a business. And he was like, doing what? And I was like, I do design for, you know, female entrepreneurs. And he's looking at me like I lost my mind, because why would I do that? And I was just like, you know, he said something, and I was like, oh no, like I don't live here. Like I have my own place and I pay all my own bills doing what I want to do full time. He's like, oh, so you're not just like kicking it at home. I was like, oh no, I'm just visiting. And he's like, oh, well, okay. Like when people hear that you're like self-sustaining, then it's like they're less doubtful, but it happens still all the time. But mom's like, oh no, Jasmine does so well. So like now she's like way more supportive than she was. But It just took time, and I knew it would take time. I mean, she's a mom. I'm telling her I'm gonna do this not guaranteed thing, and she's trying to figure out how am I gonna pay and all those other things. So I mean, I completely understand.
Yeah, like you say, you know, her being a mom, you know, honestly, all she really wanted was the best for you. And I think most parents, that's their biggest fear is like, I don't want them to fail. And, you know, I think that was her concern. And, you know, you still being caring and compassionate, you know, and you did mention that your mom, you know, she was battling with lupus, and you had to make sure that you kept that balance of, okay, I'm not going to let negativity influence me, but I'm still going to be there and be, you know, the person that I need to be in my family's life. So I do think, you know, you have to have that balance. And like I always tell people, you get to choose who's in your circle, you know. So if you're around negative people all the time, you don't have to necessarily cut them off, especially family, because unfortunately we can't choose who they are. But you have to learn when to be around them. You know, for me, holidays are family. And then now that's not so often either. But, you know, I know how to be around them, kick it with them, have fun. But I also know when to cut them off and not speak too much and not let the negative gossip. And, you know, now it's at the point where they don't even call me when they want to gossip. Heck, they barely want to come to my house because they know I don't want to sit and talk about people. If we're not talking about how to make these coins and help people, and I don't want any part of the conversation. But, you know, so it's no hard feelings when they don't feel like they can pick up the phone and gossip and talk about nonsense. So, you know, you do have to have that balance, especially if you're in a place where you're not necessarily as strong to be around them all the time and still do your own thing without negative influence. So, you know, that was a good point that you made. So now you and your mom are back on good terms.
Right.
You start Digital Lucy, which was your dream business. Tell us what you did at Digital Lucy, and now that Digital Lucy is no more, right? You're now Jasmine Easter.
Right.
Is your brand. Tell us the transition that you made from Digital Lucy, which was pretty much kind of like the same business, but a little different. I want you to tell us about that. Tell us what the transition was and why you made that transition at this stage in your entrepreneurship journey.
Okay, so when I started Digital Lucy, I just had this big idea that I had to present myself as an agency to really make the kind of money that I wanted to make. And design services, and I offered some consulting. Essentially, I did brand female entrepreneurs. In the beginning, I actually didn't. In the beginning, I was like offering everything because I had no idea about branding. I just knew like, hey, like I can make pretty things, and here you are. So eventually, I don't know, I realized that there was a lot more that I wanted to offer. For a long time, you know this, I was supposed to be starting a blog like a million years ago. And I took forever to start it. But I knew that I wanted to offer more transparency. Things like this podcast, talk about my story and things that I've been through as a business owner, because everybody makes it seem like it's so fluff and it's just so fun and you just have all this freedom in the beginning and it's just, you do whatever you want and it's just wonderful. And while I do love being an entrepreneur, that is just not realistic. It's just not how it works. In the beginning, like, there's a lot of hard work before you can afford a team. There's a lot of things you got to learn how to do on your own. I learned how to save so that you can outsource those kind of things. So I'm just like, I just come to this conclusion that I just want everything to be under one umbrella. I want to clear Digital Lucy. I want to, present and build my personal brand, talk about myself and everything that I've been through so that I can help other people along the way and just offer my services like as a bonus for those who are interested. But I really just wanted to share my story.
Awesome. So you talked about a couple of things. You said you pretty much wanted to focus more on your personal brand. And this is my philosophy. Tell me if you agree. I always tell people, focus on building your personal brand before you try to start a business. Like before you try to brand a business, focus on your personal brand. Why? Because your personal brand is where people will connect with you. And once people connect with you, they like you, they trust you, then you can pretty much put anything out there that they will like literally anything, and they'll sell it, and they'll buy it, excuse me.
That's true.
Yeah. So,
because people
so
buy
when
from people.
And, people come and they say, well, go ahead.
I said, well, people buy from people. They don't like, they don't want to buy from business. They want to see like the person behind that.
Right. So personal branding is so important, and I think now more than ever, it's even more important now to build a personal brand, and that's obviously why I'm so obsessed with it, because I noticed, like, when I started my first business, Eloquence Enterprises, like, I had no idea what I was doing, and it made it worse because people didn't know me, so I wasn't selling really anything. There was really nothing I could create, and people would buy it because they didn't know me. And so it was almost like you didn't have a face behind the brand. Like you didn't have a face behind the product or the service. Because like you said, people buy from people. And if people don't like you, why in the world would they buy from you? They'll just go to somebody else that's selling it, So in this new age of influencers and, digital marketers and whatever, like it's so important to start building, like I say, the brand of you. Like build it now. And it's not something that you do overnight. Building your personal brand is a continuous, ongoing thing. It's literally ongoing. And you will go through those phases. Like you started Digital Lucy, and, when you started it, you weren't really clear on what you wanted to do. Like you said, you offered every type of service because you wasn't really clear. So I do think that I think every entrepreneur goes through that phase where you got to just figure it out, and that's okay. Like, you literally just got to figure it out. And so now you're here. You have JasmineEaster.com. The website is totally bomb. And, I just know, like, from working with you, and that it's going to do really well because, like I said, you have the personality. People just like you, Jasmine. Like, they just like you. So you're an example of building that personal brand. So no more Digital Lucy here. Like, I was typing an email the other day, and I was looking for Digital Lucy. I was like, no, it's gone.
It's so weird to think of it because I have so many things that are like under that, and like making the switch is really weird. But I noticed that too, that I just had way more of a connection like on my personal profiles as opposed to my business profiles. And I just felt like people they liked me more than they liked, the idea of Digital Lucy. So I'm like, hey, if I can just share some gems along with, getting my services and stuff out there, then why not? But I do think it's important. And another point about personal branding, I don't think everyone realizes, like, whether you quote unquote build your brand or not, like, you still technically have a brand. So, whether you decide to go into business for yourself or work for someone else, like, how you portray yourself on social media is a huge part of your personal brand. And what you're saying and what you're putting out there can even stop you from getting a job because companies are checking for that kind of stuff now, too.
Yeah, that's so true. I got my first corporate speaking engagement. And
congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. So it's funny because, I was getting like, I've gone through the same phase you've gone through with your business, trying to really figure out what do I focus on, So I had to like step back and take an inventory like, okay, what are people contacting you about? And Jasmine, I was getting all sorts of emails, calls, like, I want you to teach me how to be you. These were the exact words. I want you to teach me how to be you, but in my own way. That will never leave my mind. And it was at that moment I was like, okay, people clearly saw my growth, my evolution, and they saw how the years behind me building this personal brand that I wasn't even acknowledging was a personal brand all this time. Like you said, everybody has a personal brand. Like, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, your personal brand is you. Like, it's who you are. And like I said, I think in a Facebook Live, your personal branding is simply your personality and some strategy. Like, how are you going to leverage it? How are you going to use it to continue to connect with people, to continue to grow, whatever it may be? It could be in your business or in corporate America. And so I did that Facebook Live, and I had no idea that somebody from TD Bank was watching me. Like, I didn't get on there that night thinking anything like that. I just wanted to share the information I knew. And the next morning, I had a message from this person. Hey, we have this event every year where we highlight an African American that's really thriving and growing, and we want you as our keynote. So I'm like, hold up, pause. What? She was like, I watched your video on personal branding, and I think you'd be perfect to come in and talk to our employees about personal branding and career development. I'm like, no way. So I say that to say that personal branding is not just an entrepreneur thing. Like, it's not. Like, you have to tap into what that is and use it to grow and become a leader. And like I said, it could be a leader on your job or in your business or in your industry, but the importance is to first identify what it is and nurture it and cultivate it as much as you can. So, for people that think branding is silly and it's insignificant, no. No. It's very important. Like, very important. So, Jasmine, tell us what you got going on, because I know you just launched Jasmine Easter. I know you did not officially, but officially. You've launched JasmineEaster.com. You're about to start doing some YouTube videos. I see you're just about to start doing some amazing things. So tell us what to look forward to from Mrs. Jasmine Easter, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, so like you said, the website is up, JasmineEaster.com, has a blog up there so you can get some good tips. And all of my services that I offer, all my design packages. I'm going to start the YouTube channel very soon where I'll be talking about personal branding, some of my personal journey as an entrepreneur. I want to have interview style on there as well, where I have some other entrepreneurs on there. So the YouTube channel is coming soon. I also launched Brand SOS with my photographer, Aspen Sierra Photography. Essentially, we're offering two different packages for the female entrepreneur who really needs to get her brand together but doesn't want to break her pockets. So the first package is like the Luxe package, where you can get a logo, business card design, and 5 brand photography images. And the other one is the basic package, where you get 3 social media ads and 3 brand photography images. And from there forward, that's really all I have going on right now. But you can always keep up with me on social media, because I'm always on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, everything that you can think of.
Okay. And what's your social media handle?
Jasmine Easter _ for Twitter. Okay. Facebook is Jasmine. Instagram is Jasmine Easter _ and Snapchat is Snap with Jasmine, because someone took Jasmine Easter. What are the odds?
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jasmine, for hanging out with me. This wasn't too bad, was it?
No, actually, it was awesome.
Cool. Well, I appreciate it. Yeah. I appreciate you for taking that leap of faith. Jasmine took the leap of faith. Now Jasmine is going to be speaking all over, so y'all keep your eyes on her, because how much y'all want to bet she's going to be speaking all over the place. She's going to be sharing her story. And I didn't even get to all of her story, but when she's ready to share it, y'all, make sure y'all connect with her. Get on her. You got an email list, right?
Yes.
Get on her email list, JasmineEaster.com, on social media. Connect with her, and y'all, like this, y'all heard it here first. Like, the girl is bomb, and she's designing my new website. So y'all just, like, she's so bomb. So y'all just stay connected with her. If y'all looking for a recommendation, you got it from me. She's legit. She's bomb. Like I said, she started off as my intern, and like she's really awesome, and she is that millennial that you need to stay in contact with, because she knows her stuff. And I'm just so thankful to know you, and I'm thankful that I'm a part of your journey, and to see you grow and thrive and really just be awesome is just an awesome thing to watch. So thank you guys for listening to episode 17 of the podcast. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and leave a review. And until next time, guys, have an amazing day.
This episode is brought to you by themotivationmaven.com, your one-stop shop for all things motivation. To learn more about advertising on Table Talk with Toddy, email info@thetoddybrand.com.